All right. Unfortunately, San Diego State will not be playing in the championship game for this Players Era Festival. The first tournament, obviously, really backed by NIL, and every team I think gets at least $1 million, and they split it. So it's a cool thing that they're doing here in Vegas. But the Aztecs today, a 68-78 loss to Oregon. Oregon coming in, hadn't lost a game, so they remain undefeated. And this is a talented Oregon team. They have size, they've got length, they can shoot. So I'm going to be interested in following the Ducks a little bit this year just to see how they do in their first season in basketball in the Big Ten. Remember, because they were in the Pac-12 obviously, and now moving to the Big Ten with all of the conference realignment and all that stuff. What I noticed today from the Aztecs, sure, there were a couple of guys that had some good games in terms of the points that they scored. BJ Davis almost scored 20. Nick Boyd today, he was that second star. He had 15. Miles Bird got 10. But what really hurt the Aztecs was those second chance points, those second chance opportunities. The first half, it was ridiculous. On the broadcast, I could be wrong on this, but I thought it was 18 to nothing, something like that, on those second chance opportunities for Oregon. And once I saw that stat when they said it at halftime, and then, I focused on it watching in the second half, and I really looked at Magoon Guath and where was he when the Aztecs missed? And a lot of the time, and also some of the first half, some of the first half shots that they replayed, I think during the halftime show, Magoon wasn't near the basket. It was him being on the perimeter, or just he just wasn't in the paint really underneath the hoop for those to get the opportunity there for those rebounds. And then you had 3 or 4 Ducks sitting there, and it's like, well, okay, you wonder why you're not giving yourself a great opportunity there. Now, obviously, when you're spread out like the Aztecs and you're shooting, and that's obviously what you were trying to do in some of these situations down the floor, like, yeah, I get it. You're not going to be able to rebound all of it. And because, Oregon, they're going to have the advantage, beneath the hoop. I get it. But yeah, I think just watching those back and then watching in the second half, to me, it was just the Aztecs weren't setting themselves up the best to get those second chance opportunities. Were there some really cool highlights from this game for the Aztecs? Yeah. Miles Bird, Magoon Guath with some of those blocks that they had. Magoon Guath had 5 blocks. He leads the Mountain West, obviously, already in blocks, which is not a surprise at all. I did want to shout out Taj DeGorville. My goodness, what a pass he had to Farrah Compton. He was sitting on the floor and made a one-hand throw as if he was like at shortstop trying to throw it over to second base or something. And he made the throw and made the assist, I should say. So that was cool. And so San Diego State, they won the highlight reel, right? But what I care about and what people care about is, do they win the game? And unfortunately, they were not able to do that. One of those differences there, that first half outscored by 10 points. It was 37-37 in the second half. The difference there, that first half. 3-point wise, Oregon shot better, over 45%. San Diego State was 31%. Free throws, 69%, just 50% for the Aztecs. 8 attempts. The Oregon Ducks got 26 attempts. So they were able to draw those fouls. San Diego State, not as much here today. And those rebounds, total rebounds, 24 for the Aztecs, 41 for Oregon. And again, really, it was that first half. That was the big difference. So there were some encouragements, and obviously no Reese Waters. I think we got to keep mentioning that because it means that this team is not at their full health. But I went into this game thinking that they could have won this game against Oregon, and I think they could have. It could have at least been a closer game if they would have been a little bit better with the second chance. And sure, you could create opportunities to score, but you're not going to be able to score every time. So you got to be able to have those second chances, and just not enough for the Aztecs today. So they'll get to come back home, have Thanksgiving, probably with their with teammates, and then they'll go back to Vegas on Saturday. I don't know who the opponent is as of now, but they'll go back there and then play. Maybe it's going to be the loser of one of the other later games tonight on the other side of the bracket that I put in air quotes. So we'll see. There's some pretty interesting games tonight. I think Rutgers and Alabama, and then there's a very late game. It's at I think 9 o'clock. So that's the other side though of this. San Diego State crowd, I did want to shout them out. I mean, they got pretty loud. Nick Boyd, he reminds me of New Mexico. Remember New Mexico's Jalen House? By the way, he plays for the San Diego Clippers, so there's a little bit of a San Diego connection there. Nick Boyd, the way that he plays, the enthusiasm, getting the crowd hyped up, I see Jalen House in him, I should say. So he's going to be interesting to watch, the rest of this year. He's one of those that I feel like you love him if he's on your team, but you hate him if he's not. And I was not a fan of Jalen House as a San Diego State fan. And I'm sure that there's going to be some fans in the Mountain West that aren't going to be fans of Nick Boyd when we get into that conference play. But we love him because he's on our team. So that's what I've got. Obviously, not a great result here today against Oregon. But, Oregon, they've got a good squad. So San Diego State, hopefully they can learn from this and obviously bounce back and be better. And we'll see how they can finish this mini tournament here on Saturday, not in the championship, but try to go get that win.